Hi, my name is Jay Howard, got a limb difference, and I was on a show called Married at First Sight. I was born without my left hand. They thought that I was maybe a thalidomide baby. I used to take my prosthetic off all the time and just chuck it away and just run off. I've got a disability.
Welcome back to the Not Quite Pod. Today we've got Jay with us. Jay, do you just quickly want to introduce yourself and let everyone know a bit about yourself?
Hi, my name is Jay Howard. I am 33. My name is Jay Howard. Got a limb difference. I wish I was still in my 20s. But I was born without my left hand. Obsessed they thought with that I was I've got a limb maybe a thalidomide baby. I used to take my prosthetic off all the time and just chuck it away and just
I'm buzzing for this conversation.
I've got a disability, but it doesn't define me as a person. It's not who I am.
Aussie hole of Married at First Sight. So every time I walk out of my office, I'm like, what is going on now?
Mental. The Australian one is crazy.
Honestly,
ours.
I suppose we were traditionally us Brits are a little bit more reserved. Is probably the word.
Yeah.
But we're going to find out more as we go throughout the episode. But first things first, can you tell us a bit of your backstory? Because I always get my guests to give us a bit of their backstory to understand a bit of their context, how they've ended up to where they are today, particularly growing up with a limb difference, how's that impacted things, and sort of walk us through that journey.
So I was born without my left hand. My parents didn't know a thing at the time because I was my mum's first. They thought that I was maybe a thalidomide baby. They asked my mum if she took the drug when she was pregnant with me. She said no. And they didn't really know what to say in that respect. They just said, well, we don't know what's happened. Passed me over to my mum and said she's lost her arm along the way. Basically, you're going to have to deal with it. And my mum's like high on gas on her at times. She's like, what's going on? What do you mean? Where's it gone? Oh, they were like, well, we don't know. This is just going to have to deal with it. So my mum and dad struggled at first. They didn't know how to navigate a child with a limb difference because you're talking 33 years ago. It weren't even brought up on any scans. And it were like, I was like a little alien to them, you know, didn't really know how to deal with it. My mum did end up getting postnatal depression, which is understandable, especially if she didn't really get the help that she needed at the time. But there was no education regarding that 33 years ago, like I said. So it was very much up in the air. But, you know, I've turned out all right, I think. My mum's brought me up really well. And I'm very independent, and she's always pushed me to do things like, when I was 2, for instance, she was like, you will swim, shove me at deep end kind of thing. And she's always said, listen, if you're going to be able to do it, but just in a different way, keep trying, try again. If you can't do it, then at least you've tried.
It's interesting. Like whenever I think about when I grew up, I had a very similar messaging. It was a case of like, you might do it in a weird and wonderful way, but you got to do it somehow. Still trying to work on the walking one. That one's kind of overrated, so I'm kind of comfortable sitting in my wheelchair. But it's a weird one to think like. I think you just adapt and overcome, isn't it? I think in my context, I'm the second one. So they had my sister that was able-bodied, had no issues, and then I threw a complete curveball in and decided to die 7 times just, you know, for the shits and giggles.
For the shits and gigs, yeah. It is what it is.
So it's interesting as well. It's like you just kind of adapt and go with it. Because like one of the big things... One of the big things I've often had the conversations with when I've spoken to friends with limb difference is that also part where you have to consider prosthetics. Was that part of your story in terms of how early was that involved and how have you found it?
Yeah, so my mum particularly, I think it's because I wasn't bothered as a child. I used to take my prosthetic off all the time and just chuck it away and just run off constantly. But my mum were a bit like her close friends and family, like saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry if you lost when I was born." And my mum's like, "She's here. She's not died. She's here." And it was disturbing more than anything. And again, at the time, she thought I was the only one ever. Because there were nobody. We live in a small town in Accrington. There's hardly anybody of us here. Do you know what I mean? It's a very small population. So when I came about in the world, everybody thought that I was coming from a different universe. Which, you know, no, I'm still here. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, she did make me wear my prosthetic from a very young age. However, she used to drop me off at school, for instance, and then as soon as she'd drive off and leave me, I used to put it in my backpack. Used to take it off straight away, put it in my backpack, and I'd be like, I don't need it. It's too heavy.
It's
Can't be
mad.
bothered.
Because whenever because I remember speaking to my friends about it, and I until like I've spoken to them, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was part and parcel of having a limb
Yeah.
difference. You wear a prosthetic, and then most of them are like, I fucking hate the thing.
Hate it. Hate it. It's too heavy. You can't do anything with it. It's just a hindrance more than anything. Like, and when I was a child, I remember my mum. She used to like keep it on, and she used to like pull me to one side and be like, "Don't take it off. We're going to a wedding. You can't take it off." I remember being a bridesmaid for my auntie when I was quite young, and my mum made me wear like gloves that went over the sleeve,
Yeah,
so like over my prosthetic. And again, my auntie's like, "She don't need that. Tell her to take them off." My mum's like, "No, no, no. Need it for your pictures." Do you know at first, but she, it's one of them things. She got over it. Like she were happy the way that I was. It's just that she were bothered about the stirring, and I just never used to, because I were in my own little world. I never used to notice it, but she noticed it all the time. So it used to kind of get to her a little bit.
I think the staring thing's a bit weird because you kind of just adapt to it over time. Like even now, obviously it happens. So I can imagine it happens to you. It happens to me. You just sit there thinking,
Yeah,
when do we stop being a spectacle? But then also, it's just I think by a certain age, you just most of the time have the ability just to tune it out, and you just think, it
yeah,
is
of
what it is.
course. And I do understand it from their perspective as well, because I've done it before in the past where I've seen somebody that, with limb differences, that when I first started seeing other people like me, but they weren't exactly the same, I was like fascinated. So I'd look twice,
Yeah,
up subconsciously,
yeah.
and my sister would be like, "Stop it." When you people do that to you, she's like, you get mad. And I'm like, no, I'm interested though.
I think there's a weird thing though when it's the same. It's gonna sound really weird when it's disabled or disabled. It's kind of like there's almost like a
A
recognized.
mutual agreement. You're like,
Yeah,
you
I
don't have the same as me.
yeah. It's like as well. Like in my case, it's like sometimes that double take is more wheelchair envy than anything else. It's like Jesus,
Yeah.
that's a bit of kit.
Yeah. Your kit's better than mine. Where have you got that
Yeah.
from?
So I
Did you
think it's
get
a
me
weird
this
one.
house called?
When it's one or like when it's someone who understands, I think there's a
Yeah.
understanding of like, okay, yeah, this is okay. But when it's Joe Blogs from down the pub, you're
Mm,
like one of my favorite things. I always reference it on this pod is like the whole concept of you'll be out for a drink with friends, and they're like,
yeah.
oh wow, you're out and about and doing stuff, and you're like, what am I meant to
Yeah.
be doing, Dave?
Yeah. I'm not just going to be sat here at home,
Yeah,
like,
I have
hi.
friends too. Like
Yeah. We have a life. We live exactly the same as everybody else, but we just do it differently.
it's so weird that we still have that today. But
Mm,
I suppose things have changed. Obviously, as we'll get on to, you've
yeah.
been on Married at First Sight. First of all, before we get into like how that team proved things for disabled people and everything else, what was that journey like? Because I can
Mental.
imagine like all these people apply for the show. I can
Mm,
imagine there's almost a feeling of like throwing your name in a hat and going, "We'll just see what happens. I might get called up, I might not." And
yeah.
then suddenly you get the phone call to be like, "Yeah, we want to use you.
Yeah.
Here we go."
Yeah. And that was basically it. So I, the whole concept of it and how it come about was I come out of previous relationship, like I'd say about 6, 7 months prior. And then we were just talking about it at work, and I was like, shall I just apply for crack? Like, do I just do it? I was like, I'm not going to get on anyway, might as well. So I did. And then I ended up having a message on Instagram from one of the casting producers. We just want to talk to you for 5 minutes. I thought it weren't real. I was like, this is a scam. This isn't a real person. There's no way. Why would they be messaging me on Instagram? Like, I don't have any followers. I'm a no one. I live in Aki. And I've got one hand. And I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. But so I just want to talk to you for 5 minutes. Anyway, we did. And then it was just from there then. And it, like, everyday phone calls. And then it come up to, because you've got to speak to like psychiatrists and things and like mental health and well-being and all that kind of stuff regarding to see whether if you are mentally okay to do a big show such as MAFS, because it's a lot. It's very mentally draining, very physically draining. And they do, their job is to kind of like put you off, not put you off, but like they tell you
Test you.
the ins and outs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they can't tell you, they've got to tell you the ins and outs basically, otherwise it's false,
Yeah.
advertisement kind of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, they were like, listen, it's tough, it's going to be really hard, but I think that you've got quite good resilience in you. And I went, I've got to be resilient. I've been brought up like that. When you've been brought up with indifference, you have to be resilient. Otherwise, you're just going to make it 10 times worse for yourself, and it's going to be hard work. And then that were it. And then they said, we found you a match. And I was buzzing my head off. I was like, I'm getting married. That's it. I'm wifed off now.
One thing really interesting. One thing you mentioned there, like obviously nowhere near the scale of MAFS, but similar to your Instagram story, that was how I ended up on the like game show lingo. It was just a random casting guy being girl going, do you fancy me on the show? But the creepiest thing about the whole thing was I was watching the show as it popped up on my phone, and I was like, nah, this has got to be a joke. It's got to be a joke. Yeah. And then, as you say, you then go through the process, you go on the show, and you think, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. Oh, it's like it's not real.
Yeah.
At first, I thought that it was somebody. I kept getting phone calls, and I'm thinking, nah, it's definitely not going to happen, and I'm going to get dropped at some point. But they didn't. They were like, found your match, yeah. I was like, what? Sorry. What do you mean, though? They were like, yeah, you're getting married. Get your dress, get sorted. And like,
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be that guy. The concept of MAFS to me is fucking wild. I sit there and I'm going, wait, so these people are going to rock up and go, yeah, we're going to get married. What? Like,
honestly.
Can you talk me, not in that way, but how can you talk me through like the mindset? Because I would sit there going, not a chance. Because in my head, particularly as someone with a disability, it'd actually be a really interesting thread to pull on. In my head, I'm like, I always joked and said, before I start dating someone, I need like a handbook to be like, right, this is how it works. This is how it's going to work, and this is what you need to do. This is what I can't do. X, Y, Z. So the idea of going, so we're going to do this now, and you're like, wait, there's like 15 steps we just skipped.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, though, I'm very much one of them that I've always been. I just get stuck in. Do you know? I just think, do you know what? If I don't do it, then I never will. And at the time, I thought, do you know what? I really want to settle down. I want a family, and I'm doing this for the right reasons. I weren't doing it I weren't even thinking about telly. Do you know? I just thought at the time, like, if we get on really well and it works, then happy days, fantastic.
Yeah.
I've got everything that I wanted. But then there's the craziness of, and it's going to be filmed and I'm going to be on telly. Do you know? Crazy. It was just like that. So it was crazy though, mental. And to be honest, I didn't even think about it properly. Because of the mad rush and the adrenaline rush of it all. Because it's not normal. Like, none of the the whole thing isn't normal. It's like, craziness. And then I remember being stood at the end of the aisle, and it hit home then, and I was like, shit, this is real. Like, I'm actually going to meet there is actually a human being at the end of that aisle now, and I'm going to have to speak to him and be like, hi. Yeah, anyway, I don't have an hand. How do you feel about that?
What a conversation opener.
How do you feel about that? It is what it is. If it works, great. If not, it's fine. Nice to meet you.
God. Like, what was your friends and family's reaction to be like, yeah, I'm gonna go on MAFS. This is gonna happen. Here we are. What was because I'm thinking in my context, my friends were like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. Well, my sister, she was like, of course you are. And like, it's just, I just don't, it's just you all over. And all my friends were like buzzing. Then it got around to telling my mum. I told my mum, I said, so I'm going to get married and I'm going to be on telly. And she was like, are you fuck? You're not doing. And at first she was like, no, it's embarrassing. And I was like, what do you mean it's embarrassing?
Go from telling your mum. We'll go from telling your mum.
So I told my mum, and she had a bit of a different reaction at first. Told her, she thought I was joking. She went, are you fuck? No, you're not. And I went, I am. Like, right excited. I'm like, I am. And I don't care what you say, because I'm going to do it anyway. And she was like, no, you're not, it's embarrassing. I said, no, how is it embarrassing? She's like, it's embarrassing. And then she stopped for a minute and she went, actually, you are 31 now and you need to sort your shit out. Like, you need to settle down. So she was like, do what you want because you're going to do it regardless. I said, no, thank you for your support.
Fair enough. That's fair. That in my head, I'm like that's about as good as it could have gone with the
Yeah,
parents. I think.
literally. I was like, listen, it's happening. I'm going to do it regardless. Like, it's either one of them. You either go with it or...
Yeah, I suppose as well. Like at the end of the day, it's your call what you do, and that's kind
Yeah,
of what you got to lean into. What was the biggest thing you learned during it about yourself? Because I can imagine with it being such an intense experience,
yeah,
you kind of end up in this space of like, wait, I'm here now. This isn't the usual practice of how this thing normally works. So you're
yeah,
almost like, I'd like it to like almost learning a job, but learning it at like full speed.
yeah, 100%. So I learned because in previous, the experts are really good. They do the job really well. And if you listen and take the advice on board, then you do go a lot further within your relationships if you want to make it work. So I've got to hand it to them. They're great at it. And I learned throughout that process because I've always had my barriers up and I'm quite hard faced when I need to be and I won't let anybody in. Um, Paul actually said, you need to let your walls down and be vulnerable, otherwise this is never going to work. And that's what I learned. As soon as you bring your walls down and you're more vulnerable and you're more open about it and you've got good communication, it works. Whereas beforehand, I'd just keep everything in. So if something's annoyed me, this is why I got called a people pleaser like quite a lot in my life, because I'd rather please everybody and everybody else be happy, so that I felt like accepted.
Comfortable. Yeah,
Accept,
comfortable.
yeah. So
Yeah, I get that.
acceptance and everything is all. And I think everybody that has a disability, not even people that has a just people in general, I think that everybody tends to be a people pleaser, just to keep the peace and
Yeah, it's a fine balance because you lose yourself, isn't it? It's that whole
yeah,
thing of like, because I advocate on here of like sometimes we pick fights with people and it's like, is it really worth it? Because it's
yeah,
not. And then I think it's a fine balance because then you lose yourself in it. And but then, as you say, you often, as a disabled person, you're naturally in this people pleaser mode. Like one of the things I often use to give people a visual for it is like, so the way I look at it is if I need help with something.
mm,
I basically always need to be nice to people because I don't know when I'm going to need help again. So
yeah,
then it kind of puts me in this juxtaposition of I
yeah.
can't be an asshole because if I'm an asshole, they
They
could
won't want
literally
to
just
help you.
bugger off and leave me, and I'm just stuck.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
a really weird complex to get into as a disabled person because other people don't get it. But then it's like, but that's our thing. It's kind of, like you say, it's that acceptance thing of like wanting to be accepted. So you kind of act up to what people want you to be, want you to do,
yeah.
but then naturally you have your guard up because one of the questions I guarantee you've been asked, I've been asked is when dating, do you disclose your disability? Do you not?
Do you know what? I've always been really open about it, and I've mentioned this to a couple of people in the past with disabilities. I'm like, listen, if the shoe were on the other foot, and you look at it from their perspective, if you were online dating, fair enough. If you met them face to face, you'd have to go into it, and and you can gauge from what it's going to be like, within the first say 5 minutes. But when it's online dating, I have spoken to people in the past that have got disabilities and said I'd rather not disclose it because then they might not want to speak to me and they'll just think, oh, I can't be bothered with that, it's going to be too much hard work, and they just disregard you straight away. Whereas on the other side of it, I look at it from their perspective and say, for instance, if you didn't tell them and then you went to go and meet them, they'll think that the trust isn't there because you've lied
Exactly.
to them from the get-go. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I have the exact same thing of like, also the way I think of it is if you're having to hide part of yourself from someone because you're worried that they're going to suddenly have this reaction,
Yeah,
is that really someone that long term is going to work?
exactly.
No. To
Yeah.
be honest, I can never get away with it because a lot of my sense of humor is around my disability. So
Same.
it would come out all of a sudden. They'd be like, wait, what do you mean about wheelchairs? And I'm like, oh, no, yeah, I'm in one of those. I have
Yeah.
one. I have about, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that us as disabled people, I think that we do, it makes other people feel comfortable when you have got a sense of humour towards it, rather than being. I'm very open. I'll talk to anybody. Like, anybody ask me anything, you don't offend me. But that's just, I'm really open minded, and I get it from other people's perspective. Whereas I think personally, you can ask any question as long as it's in the right manner.
Oh, I'm 100% there. That's what I always say. You can always tell someone's intent of a question by the way that they ask it. If it's genuine curiosity, fair enough. We've all got it. We all do it. If it's got any malice behind it, that's when it's a bit of a red flag. Because I always end up in the weird camp in the disabled community because they're like, oh, but we shouldn't have to constantly explain to people. And I understand that side of things, but then I'm also like, but then they're never going to learn. So, like, if I can kind of be that guide to be like, look, ask me the question you want to ask. I mean, I've literally done a full podcast talking about my sex life, even to the point where it's with my partner's work. That is who I did the podcast with. I don't think I could have been more open if I tried.
Oh my God. But that's the way that you've got to be. Like, I see it as, if you don't let people ask the questions, then they're never going to know, and you're not going to, and it's never going to change. It's never going to change people's opinions, if you keep it very, very narrow-minded. And as a disabled person, I prefer people to ask the questions so that I can educate them properly and give them the right answers.
I think my thing as well is like that whole thing of like, if someone's got questions and you're not willing to answer it, or your body language gives them that kind of prickly vibe, automatically I'm like, look, let's deal with the elephant in the room. Yes, Dave, I'm in a wheelchair. Let's ask the questions, get the 10 questions out of the way, and then we can move on and watch the football. It's fine.
Yeah. Let's get it out of the way first. First 10 questions, quick fire quiz, go.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, get them out, because then it clears the air, because there's always that, oh, can I? Yes, go on, go ahead, do what you got to do.
Yeah, I prefer it like that though, me personally. I know that a lot of people don't, but
I think it's hard. I think I understand both sides, and I've always said, like, I've had guests on here that have not argued with me, but given a different point of view, and I do understand it. And I just think it's finding that happy medium. And one thing I always say on here is I want to create a referral culture of like, yes, if you're one of those people that aren't comfortable constantly explaining your disability or how you live your life, then redirect to someone else who can, particularly like those of us that work in social media. I guarantee you can put your hand on someone that is a walking, talking dictionary of cerebral palsy, and they'll just crack on and just let them have it.
Yeah. And like I said, everybody's got their own take on things and their own opinions, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. But I do genuinely believe, like, you can ask any question. It's just you've got to do it in the right manner. If you're going to be a dick about it, I ain't going to give you the answers. Do you know what I mean? I'm just going to walk away from your space.
Yeah, and you can tell straight away. You can always tell if someone's being genuine or just out for taking the piss. Yeah. On that note, though, how has your difference impacted like the way you've lived over the years? Because oftentimes I think it gets brought into discussion when you have a disability, is your disability becomes such a large part of your identity that does it overcome your identity itself? Like, I've often wondered, am I just known as Charlie, the ginger guy in a wheelchair? Or do people come to a different conclusion with me? How do you feel about how you've embraced your difference, and how have you balanced that?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I never used to struggle because I've always been very confident. I've always put myself out there. I've always made sure that, like, I go and speak to people. I've never been shy. I've always made friends, and I think it's because it's not that I don't draw any attention to it. I just crack on. I've just been brought up, and I've always thought to myself, when I was a kid, I used to think I am Jay with one arm, and that's it. And that's what everybody sees me as. But as I've got older, because I am very independent, and, my mum's brought me up to be that way. I don't think, if my mum mollycoddled me, basically, and she, like, brought me up to say, right, you can't do this and you can't do that, and she was, like, a bit anxious and things of making me go and try to do different things, I don't think I'd be the same person as what I am now. But because she was very like, keep trying, you can do it, she was very encouraging. That's been a massive help. And over the years, I've learned that I've got a disability, but it doesn't define me as a person. It's not who I am. It's just a part of me. It's
I think it's a fine balance of having it be part of you, but not all of you. It's
all
a
of you,
really,
yeah.
really
Yeah.
fine balance because I think, particularly like as someone you do as well, like when you work in social media in the disability space, it does often feel like all we ever talk about is disability.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, from my perspective, I'm like, half the time, no one really like when you start, oh, here she is, she's fucking talking about a limb difference again, do you know what I mean? And I get it, but I'm proud of who I
I
am.
get it.
Do you know what I mean? And I get that, but I do understand like you don't have to talk about it constantly. Do
No,
you know? You don't need
no.
to bring it up like all the time.
Yeah, it's pretty particularly our two conditions. They're pretty obvious. They're not.
Obvious, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and talk about it for half an hour because it's missing, it's gone. I don't know what else you want me to say. Do you know?
Yeah.
There's
um,
nothing there. But
just,
yeah, it's just one of them.
have you had the question like what happened though? Because that's always my favorite thing. It's like
Yeah,
what happened, and you're like, I always there's
yeah,
always a 2 second debate of do I come up with some really like elaborate story or do I just tell them what actually happened?
yeah. Well, I usually tell people I got bit by a shark when I was 8 year old. It's usually the case, and they go never, and I'm like yeah, and then I'll come out with like this whole elaborate story, and then I lose myself in it, and I'm thinking shit, I'm gonna have to tell them that this ain't true. Actually, guys, no, I'm really sorry. I was just born like that. No, very boring. However, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. It's a weird one. I say it's just a bit. I think where we get asked so many times, you just start going. Do you know what? I'm gonna have a bit of fun today and see what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, and I think that people like when you have a bit of a fun laugh with it, they kind of get it, and they're like, "All right, she can take her banter," do you know?
Yeah,
And
it's that breaking that ice again, like that whole
yeah,
thing of like when people aren't exposed to disability. On that note, though, like obviously you were, I think you were the first maths
mm,
person to be someone with a disability.
mm.
How was your experience with that? How do you think it's shaped the way we view disabled people on and off camera? And I know that's a very big question, but I more mean in terms of like it's a very disability and dating is one of those things that it
Yeah,
has a lot of history and there's a lot there. So
yeah.
how did you find that, and obviously particularly like the background of the show, the
Mm.
reactions from the other contestants and things like that? What was that like?
When I met the girls on the hen do, so you meet all the girls first, and all the boys meet all the boys before you actually get married. And half of them didn't even notice. They said to me like they
Love
give
that.
me a hug, and then when I sat down, they were like, "Oh shit," and I'm like, "Yeah," because I didn't really draw. Again, I don't draw any attention to it, so half of them said I didn't even notice it at all. But when I went in, I did genuinely think at the time that they've only took me on because of my disability, so it gives them
I
brownie
did,
points.
yeah, I did wonder that.
Mm,
I did wonder because yeah, that's often the not sort of narrative you get given from shows, and I'm not saying all shows are
yeah,
but that's what we've seen up until.
yeah. But I pulled them up on it and I asked them straight out. I said, "Listen, I'm not daft. Like, I know why you've picked me." And they went, "No, that's not the reason, Jay." Honestly, they were like, "We would have picked you regardless because you're funny. You know, you're amazing, and we just want to give you this chance of finding happiness." And I was like, "All right, fair enough." Like, because again, I'm very open. I'd rather people be honest with me
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
than not.
what's really nice about that is like, and I say this having known someone who did really got a lot of success from it. Is this feels a lot? Your maths feels a lot more, in some ways, feels a lot
Mm,
more natural than some of the more specialist disability dating
yeah,
shows that have been before, like the Undateables and things like that.
yeah,
I've always taken up issue with that show,
mm,
but it's nice to kind of be included in sort of the mainstream, and I think it's nice to slowly see us shifting and being involved
yeah,
in that conversation. But yeah, I think there is a lot more we could do. But yeah, it's really nice to see. And but
yeah.
what was the what was the rest of the journey like on the show? Who obviously being the only one with a disability and also the
I know.
first.
It were mad to be honest because like they were asking me like with before I went in, they were saying, "Oh, any help that you need or any like anything that you require, just let us know." And they were really good with me. To be fair, I had a really good experience. I didn't have any I didn't feel like I was being discriminated at all. they were really helpful. Like if I asked somebody to help me curl my hair, they'd come and they'd help me. Especially like with all the madness and things, and like getting dressed, little things like that. But because we were all living in the same building, like all the different cast members and things, like me and Ros were like this. She was my next door neighbour, so I used to like run like half dressed and like Ros, and he used to help me like zip me up and everything and get me undressed. And then he had my husband at the time for that as well. So, but they were really good. I couldn't fault them. And the whole cast, like nobody said anything. They didn't, from what I know, they didn't mention anything about me. On it was just like,
Wow.
oh, it is
Nice.
what it is. And I were really like, I was really happy with that because I felt really accepted.
It's really nice to hear as well because it then feels more natural. Because as I say,
Yeah,
a lot of the time when people are with disabilities are included in dating shows, it kind like you say, it kind of feels like that whole we've got to have one, sod it.
yeah, kind of thing. And that's what I thought originally at the beginning. And like I said, I'm not daft. Like I thought, like you've only got me because I've got one hand. Like I'm not stupid. But they were like, Jake, you got to imagine like how many thousands of people that apply for this show, and they went, it's just your personality. And I was
Then
just like, all
again,
right, fair.
flip it on its head. Like I'm the worst for this, but I'm like, fuck it. If I could use my disability to get me in a room, sod it.
Yeah,
Why not?
yeah. I mean, I've not really, yeah, I've not really been like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like in some situations, say for instance, and I'm not even scared to say it. If there's a massive queue for toilets and there's disabled that's free, and nobody's queuing for that, I'm gonna go
Yeah,
and like be like, I need the key, and they're like, do you
yeah,
need help? I'm like, no, just need the key.
yeah. But to be honest, like fair enough. Like, yeah, I mean, it's as I say, there's a really fine line with it. Of like people are going to hear that and go, "Oh, Charlie just used his disability to get in a room." I'm like, no,
No,
my argument is I've dealt with loads of shit that you lot don't have to. So I'm gonna use what I can.
exactly. Do you know what? Like, listen, there's a little bit. We might be missing things, and we can't. We're not fully able-bodied. But if we can take advantage of a little tiny piece, then we
Yeah,
will.
yeah, 100%. And there's nothing wrong with it. I'm like all for it. But
No.
yeah, it's interesting.
But again, some people don't agree with it, do they? And I understand that, and I get it. But obviously,
It's a yeah, it's a fine
fine
line.
line.
But I think as well, like with the show thing, it's also I always view as much as there is that tokenism element of it, anything that can raise the profile of people with disabilities to bring it
Mm,
kind of into the front and center. At the end of the day, it can only have a good impact. I mean, it's
yeah.
that old cliche saying of like, no publicity is bad publicity. While I don't believe that 100%,
No.
it kind of rings true a little bit with the more we can showcase disability, the more it kind of becomes this like natural. I say natural thing. It is a natural thing, but like more of a like a. It's not a surprise of wow. There's someone
Mm,
with one arm on Married at First Sight, or there's someone in a wheelchair doing this. So it's
mm,
not a big thing anymore.
yeah.
What about like obviously, maths has a massive impact on how like relationships. I say it's like basically well, it is speed dating
Yeah.
at like 200 mile an hour.
Yeah.
How has your like relationship sort of the way you view relationships changed since doing the show?
I mean, well, I'm still single. I've not met anybody, but I know my worth and I know who I am. So I'm not just gonna jump from person to person. I've never been one of them anyway. That just jumps from person to person. I want to make it right. Um, and again, I'm not here just to settle. And I want to, when I do settle, I want it to be like kids, marriage, like and
The
proper.
works.
The works. That's what I
Yeah.
want. Um, and I view dating now. It's hard. I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat it and say, oh yeah, online dating. It's fucking hard. And I think that I hate online dating. If we could get rid of online dating and you could just do what they did back in the day, where you met somebody
Yep.
down, at a coffee shop or whatever. If you're in Asda walking and doing your shopping, and you'd be like, oh well, you're a bit all right.
Yeah.
Happy days, but it's not like that anymore. And because there's so many of us like online, everything's so accessible. So people, you'll be talking to somebody for like a couple of days, and then off on to the next one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very disheartening, but at the same time, it, it's a roller coaster.
Do you think the show sort of helped you like navigate, as you say, like bring your walls down more when you do meet
Yeah,
someone that you're starting to build a connection with? Do you think that journey's been easier, or do you think as well because you've got somewhat of a public profile now, it's kind of put it's a I
it's
imagine
hard
it's a
work.
catch-22 of like I want
Yeah,
to bring my walls down, but also everyone knows me from this big show, and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And then I've had it quite a lot actually. Um, Again, because of my arm and my they'll be like, I recognise you. Where do I know you from? And then next minute I'll get a screenshot of me on Google in wedding dress. And I'm like, well, yeah, there is that, which I failed to tell you because I didn't think that it's necessary, you
yeah.
know?
It's a
But
really trick.
then
Do you
they
think
get
there's
put off.
is there a, do you reckon this is going to sound really bad, but do you think there's a stigma around it? Like, because I wonder if some people might think like, oh, this person's been on the show. It means that you do everything at 100 mile an hour. It kind of, is there a stigma of like, oh, can I build a genuine connection with it? This is purely hypothetical. I'm not saying
Yeah.
this towards you, Jay.
No, but I haven't experienced that. To be honest, I've not really dated since. In all honesty, I haven't because I just think it's hard. Again, it's hard when you've been on a big online like when you've been on a big dating show like that. It's hard to meet people, and then you start thinking, are they doing it for the genuine? Are they doing it for the right reasons? Are they being genuine, or are they just doing it just because? I don't know. I don't know what the reasons, but
it's it's a
it's hard.
yeah, I can imagine it's a really tricky one. Like I'm a catch, like not a catch 22. What's the word? I'm a walking cliche because everyone goes, oh, like you're in a successful relationship, blah blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, but I didn't do the online dating thing.
Yeah.
I met my partner Gina by pure fluke, absolute pure fluke. Like people go out to me all the time. What's my advice for dating apps? I'm like,
Yeah.
use a good photo.
Use a good photo. But like even my previous relationships, they've always been like friends of friends. So I've known them beforehand, before we've got together, do you know what I mean? So yeah, I do find the dating pool very difficult. And like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's all sunshine and rainbows because it's not. But it's all about meeting somebody that's got that open mindset.
100%. I mean, to give people as well context, me and Gina, I think I've told this story before, but me and Gina, like, Gina had no exposure to disability till she met me. We purely met because at the time we were both trying to run YouTube channels and
Yeah.
wanted advice from each other. And then it transitioned into this thing that we have today.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, so sometimes it can work in terms of like, I know what you mean in terms of like people you know, because there's not like the disability explanation. But as you
Mhm.
say, I think the biggest thing I would say is finding those people that have just got the open mind of, oh, you got a disability. I've not seen that
Yeah.
before. But sod it. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out as we go.
Yeah, and it's like we move on. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it doesn't need to be a big. I think people overthink it way too much,
Yeah.
and they overthink like, oh well, I'm gonna have to constantly help them, and you know, like, and I understand, but if they're not willing to get to know you in the first place, then how will they ever know? Do you know, like, you could have a really good, genuine connection with somebody that is disabled, but you decide not to even bother because you think that it's going to be too hard work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. As an old
Um,
cliche as well, I've had some of my funniest moments when Gina's been trying to help me because things have not gone to plan and it's gone horribly wrong. So like sometimes there's massive like moments of just stories we could tell purely from the fact of, as I disabilities bring in a whole different layer of relationships. But I think
yeah,
as well, it's like you said, it's just opening that door of, well, we're going to try it and see how it works because
yeah,
you don't know what support someone's going to need from a disability perspective until you get to know them because
exactly,
like yeah, like they could need purely minimal support and you're like, oh, I thought it was going to be more deep than that. No,
exactly, exactly. And it's all just about having open conversation and just being good at communication. That's it.
don't. That's like my what I always say in any walk of life, just communicate with each other. If you don't
Yeah,
sit there like stewing on something, it's not going
yeah.
to fix anything.
It's not.
It's What about like for you? Like, what advice would you give someone who's dating that's got a disability, or a younger you that's looking into dating? What advice would you give?
Be your full self and don't hold back.
Love that.
Because if you do hold back, then it's going to bite you in the arse later.
Agreed.
um, Open-minded. Be very open-minded. Um, just be you, like authentically yourself, because people will love you for it. Don't be ashamed, because there's nothing for you to be ashamed of. Like, we didn't choose this. Do you know what I mean? It's something that's happened, and it's part of us, it's our life, but it doesn't define you as a person. And if somebody can't be bothered to even give you the time of day to show who you are as a person, then they're not worth it.
100%. Completely agree. And like as well, as we said earlier, just don't feel like you have to hide your condition. I
No.
think that's a big thing as well. It's like, don't feel like you've got to bow to someone else's belief system of, because as I say, it's that whole thing of you'll find someone that will go, no, it does not bother me in the slightest.
Exactly. And the majority of people that I have met in the past, like ex-partners and things, not bother them at all. If anything, they forget about it. They'll pass me stuff and they'll be like, hold this. And I'll be
Yep.
like, you're asking the wrong person here,
Yep.
mate. Like, go
Yeah.
somewhere else.
It's like, Gina's gone to me, can you come here a second? And I'm like, yeah, it's going to take me a
Yeah.
while, but yeah, sure. Or the other thing she's done to me before is I've been sat somewhere on a like bed or chair or whatever, and she's like, "Oh, can you come and get this?" And I'm like, "Gina, I've got no equipment anywhere near me. I
Yeah.
can't walk.
Yeah.
What are you expecting me to do?"
If you want it, it's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
You're going to have to wait.
Yeah. If you want it, you're gonna have to come get the equipment
Yeah.
for me. By that point, you might as well have got it yourself.
Got it yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
It's true. Like I say, it's just you will find people that just aren't bothered and like say
No.
forget about it. And I think it's remain the hardest bit about online dating with a disability, or just dating with disability, is the constant no's. But then that's for everyone. It just kind of goes up an extra 20-30% when you got a disability, and I think that's the hardest thing, is remaining confident is difficult.
It's a big thing, and I'm not gonna lie, I am a very confident person, but don't get me wrong, I've been in situations where I thought I'm not worthy of anybody, and I feel like I'm not gonna meet anyone ever again. Do you know? And I don't think it's necessarily to do with my arm, like, but it does put doubt in your head, and then it starts making, and then it does give you a confidence knock, as it would do anybody. And it is hard, but it's just keeping positive, and one day, hopefully, we'll meet the right. You'll meet the right person. I'm still skeptical, but hopefully, one day it will happen.
What's the old cliche that I hated at the time of dating? You'll find someone when you least expect it, and the worst thing is, I'm walking, talking truth of that, and I'm like, yeah. I understand the anger and the venom that you have towards me for saying that, but it's true.
Yeah, and then when people say it to me, I'm like, you're talking shit, bollocks. It's not happened. It's still not happened. I'm here 33. Woo! Nothing's happening yet.
You never know.
I know.
What about, like, obviously having been on MAFS, do you think that, like, how would you change the way we look at dating and disability on reality TV shows and including disability? Is there anything, like, if you were to consult on it, is there anything that you'd want to change, or part of the conversation that you want to tweak or anything like that?
I do genuinely believe that we are heading in the right direction in terms of representation on TV, and like it's becoming more normalised now.
Yeah.
As a grand scheme of things, which is brilliant. It's the way that we want to go, in my opinion. It's not like we're segregated as much. I mean, we've still got a long way to go, don't get me wrong, but if it were me to do a show, I'd consider everybody. Do you know? I wouldn't just pinpoint, like, if I was to do a show, I'd do speed dating like you would do in person, but just have everybody in the room and just like sit with absolutely everyone. You don't put them in a category. to one
Yeah,
side. Just let
yeah.
everybody mingle the way that they are.
Completely agree, because it's one of my things that's always frustrated me is that it's always like there's the able-bodied version of something, and then there's the disability version of something. And as
Hmm.
someone that's like heavily into sport, competed a lot when I was younger, I've always wondered, like, why can't we just have the Olympics rather than this whole? I know, I
Yeah.
get the whole classification thing and like competing against people with the same abilities. Yeah, cool. I'm on about the actual like name of the thing. Like, why do we need to
Yeah.
separate it out?
Yeah. It should just be called the Olympics.
But it's the
But
same thing with the dating
yeah.
shows. There's always been like the Undateables. It's always like disability specific. Obviously, MAFS is a big bit different, and as you say, we are really changing that. But initially, it always felt like, oh, what weird and wacky disabled show are they going to come up with next?
Yeah, I don't think that they would go back that way though.
No,
I'd
no.
hope to think that they wouldn't, because if you think back to the Undateables, that at the time it's offensive, isn't it? Like just in terms of
I just want to know
how it was played out and
who
everything,
the
and
fudge decided on that bloody title. Like who? And yeah, great idea.
I honestly don't know. I don't know. But even I had it though when I come off maths and people would recognise me out and things, and there were a few comments that obviously they never watched maths and they were like, "Oh, you're on a dating show with the Undateables," and I'm like,
Oh,
"No, it don't exist anymore. That love, it's something else." But that's another thing. People assume, and assumptions make an ass out of you and me.
yeah. No, I completely agree. It's like I think that's where we need to move to, where it's just part of the show. And but then as well, I think we need to get rid of this notion as well that there's that quota element to it, because I think that's always in the back of disabled people's minds of like, oh, I'm just here to tick a box. And while I've said
Mm,
if I can tick a box, great, because it moves the like
yeah,
awareness of disability, but getting that notion of no, we're being considered for us rather than
yeah,
oh, we need someone with a disability. Okay, we'll contact Jay or Charlie. What?
yeah.
Why?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and again, I don't know. I don't know whether if production companies do it for brownie points. I don't know, but I do genuinely believe that they look at it differently now, and they don't see it like they used to, say 10 years ago. So we have come a long way from what it was at the beginning. I mean, I've always said when I were a kid, there were nobody on TV that I could look up to apart from Jeremy Beadle. That was the only person when I were a kid that were like, oh my god, somebody that I can see has got limb
yeah,
differences, that they
yeah,
were mental, but that was the only representation that there was at the time. Um, and now I do think that it's getting a hell of a lot better. Like you see loads of representation now on anything, like any shows, game shows, Strictly Come Dancing, everything. So it is getting a lot
Do
better.
you, on that note, and we've sort of already covered this, but do you think that disabilities are represented in media authentically now, or do you still think we've got some way to go? Because obviously we've just said that it's improved massively,
Mm,
but I think for me, it's very much like a case by case basis of there's certain
yes.
shows and events that you sit there and go, yeah, you just went, we need a disabled person and pick someone out of a hat. Whereas
Mm,
the others went, oh no, we just think this person's cool, and it happens that they have a disability, so we
yeah.
move forward. Do you think? Yeah. Do you think we're moving to always consistently showing disability authentically, or do you still think we've got some way to go?
I think it is authentic. Um, just going off my experience, I can't speak on anybody else's, I can't speak for anyone else, but just going off my experience, it is really authentic. Like I was just myself. They showed that I was just myself. Um, and that's that really. I mean, obviously shows, they do cut bits and they edit things and they can make things seem one way when it's not.
Yeah.
Um, but with me, I feel like they showed me exactly as I am. So
Yeah.
I was just like, I was quite grateful for that.
On the
Yeah.
note of like cutting and showing things how they might not necessarily have happened, was that annoying for you in the show, or like when you look back at it and you go, that weren't what happened. This was actually what happened. Thanks for that.
Yeah, there were one point, and I've never actually mentioned this before. There were one point on my backstory where they were talking to me about my disability and dating, and there was a sentence, there was a bit where they took my voice of snippets of what I've said, and then they put them all together like it was all
One
free
sentence.
flowing,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it wasn't. So they cut. There was a bit where they made it look like I were upset for men not accepting me and why you don't want to know who I am. But at that point, I was actually talking about my dad.
Yeah,
So they
that's
made
annoying.
it out like I was talking
Yeah.
about men in general and being accepted and everything else. But I wasn't. I was actually talking about my dad. And they cut it out and they made it look like it was one thing when it wasn't. It was something else.
I suppose, did you get much consultation on, like, the way the show was represented? Or was it kind of, this is the final edit, here you go, bosh?
Oh, yeah, well, no, we don't. We see it at the same time as everybody else.
That's great.
So
With a
we
show
don't
like that,
see anything.
that is crazy. Because, like, I can accept it, like, obviously with Lingo, same thing of, like, the show just comes out and it comes out and it happens how it happens. But it's a game show. Like, it's pretty cut and dry of, like, this is what happens next.
Yeah.
Whereas with MAFS, it's like, yeah, there's a lot there that could, like you say, could be misinterpreted, could be, because as well, from a disability, I would have thought, from a disability point of view, the TV crews would have been like, look, we need to make sure we don't misquote or fuck up this.
Yeah. Yeah. Which
Yeah,
they can't show. So whatever you've said it. That's inevitable. Like whatever has come out of your mouth, it's come out of your mouth. So they can't put words into your mouth. They can't make you say stuff. It's all free flowing conversation. So they can't. It's not scripted.
yeah.
So whatever you said, you've got to own it. Hold your hands up and be like, yeah, I said that. But how they put it together, I remember once. I think I said something and they took my voice over again. And I think I said it like the day after, the day before, but they put it in a moment where I didn't actually say it at that time. I did say it, but not then.
Yeah. Oh.
So it is very, they do cut bits out and they do edit it, but it's not massively.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
can't make somebody look a certain way when they're not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's like
I
off cam and things like that, and it's false representation, isn't it? So
yeah, I think it would just irk me that I'm like, that's not how I meant that. And
yeah,
I'm probably saying this, and then someone's on TV watching from TV's watching this guy. Yeah, we're not going to use him because he said this now. But I think I would just be like, that wasn't what I said. That
yeah.
wasn't what I said, and that wasn't in the context it was said in.
It said, yeah.
You've now made me sound like a dick.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes, yeah. There were. I mean, It was just. I was just myself. Some other people, on the show might have been doing it for a game, like game playing,
Yeah,
playing up to the camera,
yeah, yeah,
saying exactly the things that they knew that they were going to say to get more airtime. It's TV isn't what it's cracked up to be sometimes, guys. So it's just one of them. You've got some people that do it for the genuine right reasons, and then you've got the other half that do it for completely different reasons. So yeah, it's part and parcel of it. To be fair,
it is.
like
You're completely right. And on that note, I'm going to ask you the last question that I ask every guest, which is, what's one piece
okay.
of politically correctness that you really strongly agree with or disagree with?
um, how the Americans think that when we eat a jacket potato with cheese, beans, and tuna is disgusting because it's not, and it's amazing, and everybody needs to try it.
What a random one to include. I was not expecting that. To be fair, yeah, yeah. But then again, to my American friends, some of the stuff you guys eat is weird. Like, what the?
Yeah, and I think and they don't. Yeah, I don't get it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I love watching like all different foods from different countries.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what's one of them? But then when I've been watching all the Americans like on TikTok and they're all doing the reviews on the jacket
Yeah,
spuds because it's like alien to them. They've never seen it before.
yeah, yeah,
I'm like, you need to get to know, and it's
yeah.
got to be all three. It's got to be cheese, tuna, and beans.
It's like the concept. I
altogether.
mean, I'm not a tea drinker. Controversial English, don't
Yeah.
not a tea drinker. But the Americans, when you show them English tea, it's like, wow, what is this?
Yeah. What is that? What is that? Mental.
It's
Crazy.
like I spent 6 weeks pretty much living in America from when I had a major surgery there. And the one thing, and this was, bear in mind, I was 12 at the time, was not into my food the way I am now. I was dying to see something green, man. Like,
Yeah.
where I was, where the state I was in, veggies were a rare entity.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's mad. It's honestly mad. But like you say, it's different strokes for different folks, I suppose.
It is. It's straight from different folk, but I think that they're all getting to know about the 3 fillings on a jacket spud. So
Beans,
we're gonna
tuna.
take
Well,
over.
actually, do you go all 3, or there's one specific one that slaps for me, but that's a personal opinion.
It depends how I'm feeling. Usually I'll go for tuna and cheese and coleslaw.
Oh, yeah, good choice. Yeah.
But if I'm feeling it, then I will have all 3.
Whew, I think all 3. There's too many layers. Too many
Do
layers.
you think?
Yeah.
Nah, it's gotta be done.
I'm right there with you though. Tuna, cheese, coleslaw I can leave or take, but it's got to be a good level of cheese. Yeah, you got to get
Yeah.
a good level of cheese, and it's got to be melted. Get the melted
Yeah.
cheese and
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. It's
now
got to
you're
be at
talking.
least half a bag of grated cheese.
Yeah,
There's no like little sprinkle about it. You gotta put the full bag in there.
you got to get involved. Get involved.
Yeah, gotta get involved.
But thank you so much for coming on, Jay. It's been a really good conversation. I think it's really interesting.
Thank you.
Whenever I get someone else with a disability on, it's always interesting to kind of get into the weeds of some of the little things that the wider community don't always realise, and part of the conversations that they don't have. And that's why we started the pod. So thank you so much for coming on. Of course, guys, I'll link all of Jay's details below. And I'm sure if you've got any questions, Jay will be more than happy to answer any questions, or if you want to reach out to her. But I will leave everything below. But thank you so much, Jay.
Thank you very much for having me.
Why we are looking?